Hola, buenas tardes. Today we are going to be making something that is super easy, that doesn't cost a lot of money and doesn't take a lot of time. As a nursing student and a mom of 3, I don't really have the time to sit and make a super intricate, detailed dinner. So today I'm just going to teach you my method of making pollo a la mexicana. So let's do it. I know that there's probably a lot of people that make it with chicken thighs that are boneless, skinless, whatever. That's just not something that I'm going to purchase separately outside of the food that we already get. So I just get a big tray of pechugas that are boneless, skinless, and it's more affordable. So today I'm going to be using maybe 2 or 2.5 large chicken breasts that I'm going to go ahead and cut up. So I took these chicken breasts out of the freezer like 2 days ago, so they are a little bit harder on the inside or the middle part, but that's fine. I actually like to thin it out first and then cut it into cubes. I feel like I just get better bite-sized pieces rather than making them all giant. So once they're in this size cubes or little chunks, we're gonna go ahead and add it to our pot. So to my pan, I'm gonna go ahead and add like a tablespoon of oil. You can add a little bit more if you need to, but I'm just gonna go ahead and start with a tablespoon. Once the oil gets hot, then you can go ahead and add your chicken in. We're just gonna go ahead and add that, and then I'll tell you our seasonings next. Is that my smoke detector? That is my smoke detector. So you can pretty much add whatever kind of seasonings that you normally do to your chicken, but I'm gonna go ahead and add salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder, and maybe a little bit of paprika. It just depends how I'm feeling. Okay, I lied. I'm actually gonna go ahead and add a little bit of oregano. You can go ahead and add Mexican oregano. It has a little bit of a different flavor profile than normal oregano, but it'll do pretty much the same thing. So we're just gonna add a little bit of that into these seasonings as well. I know a lot of different pages will say, oh, add salt and pepper to taste. You totally can. But for beginners or people who don't know, I'll go ahead and break down how much of each I'm going ahead and putting in. So I put about 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder and garlic powder, and then 1/2 teaspoon to 1/4 teaspoon of oregano. So once the seasoning is all in there, you can just go ahead and mix it all together. That oil and just the natural liquid from the chicken should allow for the seasonings to be pretty evenly coated on every little piece of chicken. You want to have your pan at a medium heat to have a consistent temperature throughout, because you're going to add some cool or cold vegetables to it. And you don't want the pan to continuously drop temperature, so we're just going to keep it at a medium heat. You can turn it up a little bit higher depending on your stove, but mine is good. I'm at a 3.5 right now out of 6. Pretty sure the reason that this is called pollo a la mexicana, it's because the colors of the flag of Mexico. So you have green for chiles. Right now we're just going to be using jalapenos, and we're just going to slice that up, some cebolla and jitomate. So we're going to slice them up. So I have kids, so I'm not going to go ahead and use a ton of rajas or a lot of slices of jalapenos. So I'm just going to go ahead and slice up one, and I'm going to make sure that I remove all of the seeds. So it's just a little bit of a subtle spicy flavor. Yeah. I'm also going to be using 1/2 a tomato, because this is what I have. You can use 1/2 a tomato, a whole tomato. It just depends on how many tomatoes you like. My husband does not like tomatoes, so we're not going to use a ton. So we're just going to use the 1/2 of the tomato that I have left over. Well, this is a pretty large jalapeno, so I'm just gonna cut these in half so that they're like normal size rajas, normal size slices, and we'll throw those in a second. I have about this much onion. I would say it's the size of 1/2 of a large onion. Or the size of a medium onion, and I'm just gonna slice it. I'm not gonna do any dicing or anything. I'm just gonna cut it smaller so that it can fit. Same kind of thing with the tomato. I'm not too worried about it because the whole purpose of the tomato is to reduce. So once the chicken is about 3/4 of the way done, we're gonna go ahead and add some minced garlic. So you can add freshly minced garlic, but to make it easier, I already have pre-minced in the fridge. So I'm just gonna add maybe half a tablespoon of minced garlic. So the chicken is almost done, so I'm gonna go ahead and add the onions and the jalapeno. And we're gonna let those cook just a little bit. I'd say maybe like 2-3 minutes of just them with the chicken. You also want that flavor of the jalapenos and the onions to kind of soak into the remainder of the chicken. So after a couple minutes, it should start to get that kind of crust on the bottom. After a couple minutes, it should start to get that kind of crust on the bottom. That's what you want because you're going to use that a little bit later. After your onions and peppers are soft, you're going to go ahead and add in your tomato. And you're going to let that cook down for another 3 to 5 minutes. You can add more tomato, more jalapenos, more onions, depending on how much you like. It doesn't really change the flavor too much, other than it makes it a little bit spicier if you add more jalapenos.
Once everything starts to look cooked down like this, you can move on to the next step.
So once it's pretty much cooked down, we're gonna go ahead and add about a cup of water slowly so that you don't drop the temperature drastically. Before you mix it around, go ahead and add half a tablespoon of chicken bouillon, or I like to use Nor Suiza caldo de pollo. And then you're going to use that, you're going to mix that together, and you're going to deglaze the pan with that. That's all that good stuff that's stuck to the bottom. Once you bring that to a boil, you're going to cover it, and we're going to let it thicken up, simmer a little bit, and cook the rest of the vegetables and just combine everything together.
So this is how I decided to let it cook down a little bit. You can see that it still has a little bit of liquid, but not too much.
After about 5 to 10 minutes, it should be reduced down to more of a thicker type of sauce and not be so liquidy. At that point, you can just turn it on low, or you can decide to turn it off and let it sit for a couple minutes and then serve it.
So this is one of my kiddos' plates, and I always serve it with sour cream just in case that it is a little too spicy for them. And this is my husband's plate. Delicious. I always serve this with rice if possible, and I always heat up some corn tortillas. I like to add a little bit of sour cream just because I like the creaminess of it. And this whole meal took me 30 minutes from start to finish. It was super easy. I can just chop everything up and pretty much put it in the pot. My children love it. It never is super difficult to get them to eat this, and it's absolutely delicious. As always, if you want to see more, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Bye, guys.